everyone. For this video is a continuation of Chapter 1, Lesson A3, A4, A5, and A6. But before that, let's review first Lesson A1 and A2, which are all about important key terms and salient features of entrepreneurship. The key terms are entrepreneur. It is the person who practices the correct concept and principles of entrepreneurship, which means the process or the management of the enterprise or the business venture. And for us to know whether a particular business endeavor is operating within the realm of entrepreneurship, these 5 salient features will be our basis or will act as the point of reference. Now, let's proceed to Lesson A3, Theories on Entrepreneurship. When we say theory, it is a generalization that explains a set of facts or phenomena. It is a situation that is observed to exist or happen. Theory is not an absolute truth. It can be supported by another observation or proven to be otherwise. These are the following theories. Know that no specific theory that will fit all because a lot of factors to be considered. Let's see what theory will fit to your dream business. My discussion will focus for these 3 theories only: innovation, Keynesian, Alfred Marshall's theory, since theory 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 is your activity A3. The first one is innovation theory by Joseph Schumpeter. He considered innovation as the primary factor affecting development, and it becomes the primary role of the entrepreneur to introduce innovation in any of the following forms: new product, new production method, new ways, especially these days, no, mas nindot if less ang manpower kay less error. New marketing strategy, it's very important. How will you attract your product to your target customer? And new supplier, na may times na makakita pa jud ka og mas quality nga materials nya same price ra sa old supplier nimo. And the last one is new industry structure. So industry structure has 5 components. First one, competitors, your potential competitors, substitute products, your customers, and your suppliers. Each plays a role in determining the intensity of competition, in explaining why some industries are historically more profitable than others. Second is Keynesian theory. It is developed by John Maynard Keynes, a British economist whose key concepts of his theory were included in his book, The General Theory of Employment, Interest, and Money, published during the Great Depression in 1936. Great Depression means grabe ka down ang economy. The theory put emphasis on the role of the government in entrepreneurial and economic development, most especially when the economy was experiencing depression. The theory suggests that entrepreneurial activities may not be favorable in the future unless the short-term problem of economic disequilibrium is finally resolved through the active participation of the government. So, mga private sector need good og support from the government. One of the example ani mga disequilibrium is, let's say, mahal ang gasolina. So, daghan man jud ang ma-affected. One of the ways nga makasupport ang government to our private sector or entrepreneurs is through financial support, or sila baron ang mo invest, no, para ma-open og balik ang mga business nga na-close tungod sa pandemic, wherein good siya sa economy kay it will create more jobs and projects for communities. Moving on to the third theory, the entrepreneurship theory of Alfred Marshall, an English economist who strongly asserted that there are four factors in the production: land, labor, capital, and organization of goods and services in the economy. He considered organization as the coordinating element, and the entrepreneurs are the prime movers of the organization. According to Marshall, without the active participation of organization, the other factors of production will remain inactive in their role for economic development. Also, Marshall suggested that an entrepreneur must be able to foresee possible changes in the future supply and demand pattern. The highlight of this theory is the four factors in the production wherein the organization played the critical role on business development as well as the economic development. This organization will focus sa pag-study sa trend of the supply and demand then and now. Also, what are the factors affecting the economic development? And their studies will not focus in our country but also for other countries nganong mas develop sila, what are the strategies, so i-apply na siya if applicable sa ato ang country or sa business. We are down to our lesson A4, the entrepreneurship and ordinary small business activity. Entrepreneurship is different from the activities of ordinary small businesses. The distinction lies in the descriptive word ordinary, and they differ in the following areas: motive in opening a business, perception of risk in the business, reactions to changes in the environment, view on competition, vision for development and growth, horizon of business operation, and sources of business funds. Motive in opening a business for entrepreneur, they start a business venture based on entrepreneurial concepts and principles and the aspiration to become successful. The business environment is marked by creativity and innovation. For entrepreneur, they make use of entrepreneurship as a means to a happy and fruitful life. While for the small business activity, they open a business with the primary goal of making it his or her source of livelihood, and it operates with the basic motive of earning profit. Their perception of risk in the business. The entrepreneur takes and faces the business risk squarely. He or she considers it inherent in the business venture, prepares the business for it, and finds ways to minimize its effects. The owner of an ordinary small business, on the other hand, believes that the business risk is a deterrent, no, purag panghadlok lang to the operation of the business and must be avoided. So, panghadlok ra para dili mo dayon og put up, no? O feel nila kaya ra gyud nga malikayan ang risk. Next is how they react to the changes in the environment. The entrepreneurs react positively to the changes in the environment. For them, changes in the business environment bring new ideas for entrepreneurial opportunities. And they consider changes in the environment a creative mechanism for development and growth in the entrepreneurial activities. On the other hand, the owner of an ordinary small business remains passive and static to changes in the environment where his or her business operates. He or she usually believes that change in the environment is not a plus factor to the daily operations, but rather a source of negative consequences. Now, let's see how they view on competition for entrepreneurs. The presence of competition is a sign of a healthy economic environment, no mas more ma-motivate sila. It will force them to continuously improve their products or services and will make them creative in their endeavor. While the owner of the small business, they view competition as an unhealthy element in the business environment and tries to avoid it. So, kumbaga, negative ilahang view. And they are uncomfortable working in a competitive environment and strongly discourages competition in the business community. Moving on, for their vision of the development and growth of their business, for entrepreneurs, they outline the course of his or her entrepreneurial venture in terms of short-term, medium-term, and long-term plans of action. So, prepared gid sila, no? Planado tanan, and make sure that the vision and mission of his or her business is clear. While the owner of the small business, uh, it relies upon chance or luck in maintaining the status quo of his or her business, and they are concerned about its development and growth as long as he or she is satisfied with its earnings. So focus lang gid sila sa profit. Status quo means the current situation. Next, let's talk about on how they differ on the horizon of business operation. For entrepreneurs, they think globally but act locally. They are primarily concerned with the major economic events not only in the local environment but also in the global business market. While for the owner of the small business, they are centered only on the local environment and does not intend to participate in the global environment. And expansion has never been an idea worth entertaining. Lastly, their sources of business funds. Entrepreneurs proposed business endeavor as a wealth-creating venture and explores ways to generate the much-needed funds from both external and internal resources. They strongly believe that the wealth that the venture may create is more than enough to compensate for the source funds. Kumbaga, in the long run, mabalik ang kapital, na-slay profit, o naapagid sila'y masave nga for expansion sa ilahang business. On the contrary, the owner of an ordinary small business tends to limit the funding of his or her business enterprise to personal resources. Para niya, risky kaayo ang mulon sa financial institution like banks and naapod sila fear nga what if dili ma-approve. In other words, he or she is already fully convinced that he or she is pursuing the unprogressive type of business endeavor. That's all for Lesson A4. Now let's proceed to Lesson A5, Misconceptions on Entrepreneurship. First one, entrepreneurship applies only to manufacturing businesses. It is a misconception that entrepreneurship is only applicable to manufacturing but not to merchandising and service. Second, entrepreneurship applies only to small businesses. The entrepreneurial concepts and principles do not make any distinction as to the size of the business venture. Third, entrepreneurship applies mostly to persons with good educational background in business courses. Know that nobody is born an entrepreneur. To become a successful entrepreneur, you must know the basic concepts and principles of entrepreneurship and apply them properly to your chosen business. Another misconception, entrepreneurship is simply opening a business. it does not merely mean opening a small business. This is simply the first step in actualizing the entrepreneurial venture. And the last one, entrepreneurship applies only to a good economy. Don't forget, entrepreneurship can exist in both good and bad economies. During a financial crackdown, big businesses usually adopt a conservative approach in utilizing their resources. No, they will reduce their production since hinay na ang demand sa ilang product. Sad to say, para mo survive lang ang company, manaktak sila for the meantime. No, kung ma-okay na, ibalik kumbaga mag-hire sad sila og balik. For lesson A6, sayon ra kay no, it's the importance of entrepreneurship. Say understandable ra kaayo ang contributions of entrepreneurship to our Filipino people, to the local community, and to the Philippine economy.